Let's go ahead and move into how you would introduce spot training to your reptiles and specifically your Abronia. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to pick a unique object that stands out in their environment. That way they can associate with something that they don't commonly see. For example, I use this ball on a stick that's big, red, and fluffy. You can get something like this at Petco, like I mentioned earlier, and it works as a great cheap way of doing it. You could also use, I've seen ping pong balls, I've seen just random toys and stuff like that. It really doesn't matter what the object is, just something that stands out and gets their attention. Next, we're gonna start at a distance. We're not gonna start with putting this object right in front of them right off the get-go. We wanna slowly introduce this object and the response with it. First off, you want to start at a distance. This doesn't need to be right in front of them right off the bat. I usually kept mine a good foot, 2 away, and just had the insect or whatever I was feeding that day right in front of it. So that way when they saw the object, they saw the insect and they associated insect with object. Over time, you want to bring this object closer to them or the insect closer to the object. That way they come to it to get the insect and they see that reward. Over time, you can try introducing just having the object around so that they see it and if they respond to it. If you notice that you put the object in the enclosure and they move to it, they react to it, they see it, they do anything to it, you immediately want to reward them with some sort of reward stimulus. For me, I go with insects as their feeding response is usually one of those things that is highly keen and they're intrigued by. They see the object or they see food usually and they want it. You know, it's much easier to associate food than anything else when it comes to reptiles. We also want to make sure this is an immediate reward. As I mentioned just a few seconds ago, this needs to happen as they react to it. Otherwise, they won't associate it one-to-one. You want to have it so as soon as they see it, boom, you get the reward. That way over time, they build that stimulus. And the big thing here is consistency. Consistency is key. You want to be doing this every other feeding at least when you're first starting out. And then from there, I do it pretty much all the time to get them to move around my enclosures. Eventually, they will associate this object with their food or the stimulus response. And then they'll start moving towards it on their own without having an insect there. I should be showing an example of this now where Mithrax and Cyrax will move around the enclosure to get closer to the object without an insect ever being there. But I do still reward them with that insect once they move to it. And once you get to this point, this is where you can start using your spot training to guide them around their enclosure, such as getting them out of their enclosure, moving them to different locations, and that's where the fun really begins. Spot training is an effective and easy way to go about building trust and making your Abronias and reptiles' life a lot less stressful. I would encourage all of you to try it out with any of your reptiles. Some reptiles are more responsive to it than others, but if you have Abronia, I would highly recommend giving it a try over time and letting me know how your experience with it